And the second part is, don't forget who you are, full of power and might and glory. And again, let the sun shine in, we're holy. And dancing is very much encouraged too, if you want.
Song, I am the radiant light of God. Let you just settle into your seats and feel yourself grounding into this sacred space. And as you hear the sounds of my voice, you can close your eyes if you'd like to and feel yourself moving inside, within, into this silence that we can create here together, into this deepest knowing. Notice how the sounds of my voice can carry you down into the very bedrock of your being, of being itself, however you experience this. Here, deep within, you can experience your connectedness to all that is. You are made of the stuff of all that is. Your breath weaves you in with the life energy of everything around us. You are part of the fabric of the universe. Listening now to the sound of the music, the sound of my voice. Let yourself move even deeper into your own essence. And from this deep level of awareness, you become acutely attuned to the unique quality of who it is that you are, the radiant light of God. There's a distinct way that you shape this life force. Experience right now the tone of your being. Without words, without description, simply experience the beautiful, deepest tones of your being. Experience the distinctive ways that you give form to life. Your creativity that flows out of the bedrock of your being, however you experience it. Know this right now. Feel the deepest core of who you are, the quality of energy that you express, that you shine out into the world. Because this quality of energy is like none other. No one has ever expressed it before, and no one shall ever express it after in quite the same way that you do. So we're here to appreciate and honor the integrity of each one of our beings. Feel spirit. Yes, the spirit of the universe flowing through you. the expression of who you are, your character, the ways you give expression to life. The distinctive way you express your humanity is like no one else. Feel your integrity, your wholeness in this moment, and appreciate who you are. And know that we appreciate you. We're here to open to our true selves and to open to one another. To give us space to be ourselves is our goal here. And with the soothing music going on in the background, let yourself be soothed right now by the quality of being in this group together, with all of these beings who have come to breathe together, to think together, and to be together in the all that is, in the love of this universe. Imagine that we are merging together and becoming a warm stream right now that we can float on, that we are carried by, and it's calming and comforting the stream of the we. And it's carrying us deeper and deeper and further in and further up into the manifestation of energies that want to be brought forth on this planet right now. Feel yourself bathed in the harmonizing energies of the we, suspended in this energy. How beautiful. We're happy to be here together today. Happy to be one in the all. So it is. That soothe you in a little bit? Now we're going to bless kids under 18 who'd like to come up and join our teachers up here. Thank you, sweetie, for being here. I've got a little story for you, though. Want to hear a little story? Short story, okay. Have you ever heard the story of the father who was really rich, and he took his son out on a trip in the country because he wanted to show his son how the poorer people lived? So they spent a couple of days and nights on a farm that would be considered with a very poor family. And on their return trip, the father asked his son, "Well, how was the trip for you, son?" And the son said, "It was great, Dad." And the father said, "Did you see how the poor people live?" And the father said, "Oh, yes, I did." And so the dad said, "Well, tell me about it. What did you see on our trip?" And so the son said this to his dad. He said, "Well, I saw that we've got only one dog, and they've got 4. And I saw that we've got a pool that reaches to the middle of our garden, but they've got a creek that doesn't end. I saw that we have imported these lanterns into our garden, but they go out and enjoy the stars at night. I saw that we have a small piece of land to live on, but they have fields that go out beyond their sight. I saw that we have servants to serve us, but they serve each other. I saw that we buy a lot of good food, but they grow theirs. I saw that we have walls all around our property to protect us, but they've got a lot of friends to protect them." The father was speechless, and then the son added, "Thanks, Dad, for showing me how the poor people live." So anyway, our parents are trying to show us things and teach us things, but it's all about our perspective, isn't it? It's about how we see things. And I think sometimes children have the eyes to see things the way that we all really need to hear about. And so we want to honor the children. We want to honor you for being here. And we have a Sunday school program that listens to you, don't we? That brings out your stories and your truths. So we're really thankful for our teachers today and for our kids. And we want to sing the face of God as they prepare to go out to their lessons today.
You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart.
theme today is the land of enough. And I want to tell you, big people, another story. It's about a man who goes on a meditation retreat. And he asks himself the question, how much is enough for me? Because when you go on a meditation retreat, everything gets pared down. You don't eat as much. You just stay in a little room with just a chair and one table and maybe one book, one candle. Everything is brought down to its bare necessities. So when he got back home, after thinking about this, he got some of his friends together and he said, if I knew that everyone in the world could have enough, if I just had those bare necessities, I asked myself, how would that feel? If we all could have that much. And I said, that would feel okay. And I want to know, he said, how do you feel about that? So they got discussing it, and the friends, they could identify with his simplicity of vision, but then when they went on to discuss it, they said, well, we might need a computer to do our work with, and we probably would need a cell phone. And I want to have certain books with me and certain files, and then probably another chair for a guest. And wow, the more that got added, the more difficult it was to know where to draw the line about what was enough. Where did necessity end and excess begin? And I think in our land of more than enoughness that we live in, it's hard for us to know how much is enough for me, isn't it? So I have before you on your chairs this little pledge. It's on a small, thin piece of paper, the pledge. It helps us to say something like this together, to find peace in what we have and what we need. If we each really pledged this together, we might be on a pathway of discovering what is enough, the land of enough. So let's just say this pledge together. See how you feel about it as you say it. Does everybody have that little thin piece of paper? You got to have your glasses on to read it. I know it's small. Okay, let's say it together. I pledge to discover how much is enough for me to be truly fulfilled and to consume only that. Let's pause after each one. Okay. Okay, the next one. I also pledge to be part of the discovery of how much would be enough for everyone, not only to survive, but to thrive, and to find ways for them to have access to that. Do you like that? Yeah. Okay, let's do the next one. Through this commitment to restraint and justice, I am healing my life and am part of the healing of the world. So enoughness isn't something that we have to live up to, like we have to have as many things as this person who's the richest, or as few things as this person who's the poorest, but really we're on a discovery through this process of truthful and compassionate inquiry into what is the land of enough. So we're going to sing our next song now, and I love this song. It's about us being a blessing to the world. And that's the theme I want to dive in here together. If we're living in the land of enough, we are going into that place where we will be flowing with the abundance of God. And that's what we're here to do, don't you think? Together in this community and in our individual lives too. To everyone we meet, we are here to be a channel of the abundance, the enoughness of God. So this is a great song to remind us of how we are a blessing. You are a blessing.
Yeah, these are beautiful words, so you have them near you. Feel free to sing along. You are the heart, you are the hands, you are the voice, spirit on earth, and who you are, and all you do is a blessing to the world. Let's sing that again.
Heather and Richard and Donna, you're a blessing to us, aren't you? What you do with your hands and your voice and what you bring to us really does soothe our souls. Well, there's a great theologian, ethicist that I admire. His name's James Luther Adams. And he said that in order for goodness on our planet to triumph, to come all the way through to victory, goodness has to be institutionalized. Now, I always say I don't really like institutions. And I've spent a lot of my life trying to deconstruct institutions and reshape them. And yet, in order to create a just society in which we are bringing forth justice in the ways that we know it needs to come forth, we must organize ourselves. We've got to use all of our resources, our energy, our time, and our money to create the society that we want to see. So we're here at Unity to have our annual meeting today and to get a little more organized. Lots of times I feel kind of jealous of the religious right because they are very highly organized. They have giant gatherings of like 25,000 or so people. When I was home with my mother, I watched Joel Osteen on TV, and they meet in a cathedral that used to be a stadium. So they have 30,000 people come. That takes a lot of organization, and they've got a lot of small groups going on and everything. So we don't need to be jealous of the religious right. We just need to get organized. We here at Unity have a really important message. We're on a mission, and we are hoping to shine our light of this kind of liberating faith that we have more brilliantly and clearly this year in our community. We need your voice here. We need your brilliance. There are so many out there, don't you think, who could find a home with us, who would feel like, wow, finally we found something we really resonate with. So this Sunday at our annual meeting, you're going to hear more about our specific visions and our plans about how we want to go about living this blessing way. So I hope that you'll stay with us and hear about that later. Now I want to tell you another little story. Once upon a time, there was a man who decided to plant a tree in his yard. He went to a peddler woman who had a cart full of all different kinds of trees, saplings. And one had silvery gray bark and broad silver green leaves, and the other was more like iron gray and small-leaved and had thorns on the trunk. And the man asked the peddler woman, "What kind of trees are these?" And she said, "Well, one is called abundance and the other is called scarcity. But I tell you, it would be better to plant one or the other, for the two don't grow well together." He said, "Okay, well, this one looks a lot stronger, so I'll take this one." It was the scarcity tree. The peddler woman sold him the tree, saying, "Well, please be aware that the trees are rather special, and they thrive not only on sunlight and rain, but on the thoughts in your head that particularly suit them." So, well, he said, "I want my tree to grow and be something really grand. So what sort of thoughts does it thrive on?" And the woman said, "Riley, scarcity is an easy keeper. Simply live as the world teaches you." So the man planted scarcity in his yard and listened to what the world had to teach him. Though he earned a living wage, he was never satisfied, for he dwelt on the things that he didn't have. He embraced the belief that he was out for himself, and that having more is what would help him to be happy, and that he never really had enough, so he always had to keep getting more. In the world in which the man lived, which afforded honor and dignity and privilege to those with the most possessions, the tree called scarcity grew broad and dense and strong. And one day, as the man stood in the shade of the tall, fine tree, he realized that he spent his life in the pursuit of things, and that though he'd come to have many fine things, he never seemed to have enough. He realized that even though he believed the security of many possessions would make him happy, it really didn't. So with a heart full of grief, he got his axe out and he was going to chop down the scarcity tree. A few hours after his work, he was really exhausted, and he realized that he hadn't made even a dent in the thick trunk of the tree. He went to his house for a drink, and he found the peddler woman who'd sold him the scarcity tree standing by his fence watching him. "Boy, your tree's growing pretty big and strong," she said. "Why are you chopping it down?" "Well, because I'm finding that I'm weary and sad," the man said. "Wisely realized," said the woman. "But I fear you're not going to get very far with that axe because the tree has grown to be much bigger and stronger than you are. You may never succeed in bringing it down. And if you do, there'll be roots left in the ground and it'll probably just grow back again." "Well, what do you recommend?" said the man. She said, "Well, here, plant this other tree beside it." And she drew out the sapling that was the abundance tree. It was small, but she said, "If you nourish it faithfully, it will eventually grow bigger than the scarcity tree and soak the sun from it and draw the water away from it. And one day, scarcity will die because abundance has overcome it." "Well, how do I nourish abundance?" said the man. "Well," she said, "through the faithful practice of gratitude and generosity. You must practice giving of your time, your gifts, your possessions, for giving will remind you of how much you've been given. You must mindfully give thanks and name those whose blessings that you've already received before you make your next requests known to God. And when you waver, study the great texts of the world, because there are many promises there that tell us that grace will never run out, and that God's kingdom is full of many treasures, and that if you seek that first, that will be sufficient for you." Well, the man did as she said because he had gotten really tired the other way. So the abundance tree grew taller and taller until eventually it outgrew scarcity. Scarcity actually withered and died, and its roots rotted in the ground and grew soft and porous until one day, near the end of its long and blessed life, the man shuffled it out and looked up at scarcity's shrunken height and soft bark and put out a hand and just pushed it over. And scarcity toppled down, and its silvery green leaves were no more. They went back into feed the earth, and the abundance tree seemed to laugh with joy as it shook its leaves in the wind. So it's challenging to talk about money, and yet sometimes we have to, you know. It's important because there's things that we can do with our money. It's not about scarcity and abundance talks, not about not wanting to be blessed and not wanting to have abundance, but it's really getting in touch with what are we doing with our abundance. So that's another thread I'd like you to follow here. And there's affirmations on your chair. Some of you, I didn't have enough because I brought these last week too, but they're this size piece of paper and you can share, so that we can share with each other. And Tony was telling me that he did pick up this that I had on the chair last week, and he got home and he pulled it out of his pocket and he said, "What did she hand out to us?" And he read it, and then he said it was worthy of putting on his altar. And he's been looking at this all week. So does everybody have one that you can look on with somebody else? No? Raise your hand if you don't have any near you. So see the people that don't have any near them, and can anybody share with, like somebody share with the front, like Heather, like maybe you can come share with the front row. Yeah, you can repeat after me too, okay? Okay, so this is just a way to get your voices engaged with me in this, you know. So we create a world of peace and prosperity for all. We create a world of peace and prosperity for all. We create a world of enoughness and sufficiency for everyone's needs and fullest expression. We create a world of enoughness and sufficiency for everyone's needs and fullest expression. Wouldn't that be great? Isn't that amazing? We create a world that provides redemption as well as opportunity. We create a world that provides redemption as well as opportunity. What I get by that is that when things have gone wrong, you know, we don't reject people or we don't say there's no hope. We offer hope as well as new opportunities, okay? No one is left behind and no one is left out. No one is left behind and no one is left out. Yet to whom much is given, much is required. To whom much is given, much is required. We assume the responsibility to use our time and talents wisely. We assume the responsibility to use our time and talents wisely. We dedicate our power and privilege to a compassionate and empowering human presence on the planet. We dedicate our power and privilege to a compassionate and empowering human presence on the planet. Our vibration inspires everyone to align closely with the divine. Our vibration inspires everyone to align closely with the divine. We leave a lasting legacy of trust and truth. We leave a lasting legacy of trust and truth. Do you like these? Yeah. Do your hearts affirm them? Do you agree with them? It's nice to have it written down sometimes, isn't it? The things that we know deep inside of us. But affirm that, and to know that everybody here affirms these things. And to know that probably the majority of people on the planet affirm these things, don't you think? Yes. Yes. We've got a wonderful song that Heather brings us now from Sarah McLaughlin. And I love Sarah McLaughlin, don't you? And it's about that what gets us in touch with the blessing that we are and all that we have to give is opening up again to wonder sometimes. Sometimes as we go through our adult lives, we can shut down to the wonder of the blessings that are all around us. So thanks for doing this song, Heather.
Yeah, I just met this song through a friend a couple months ago. The words of the chorus, bring on the wonder, bring on the song. I pushed you down deep in my soul for too long, so bring it on. Can't see the stars anymore. To the hills where the outlines will clean. Bring on the wonder, bring on the soul. I pushed you down deep in my soul for too long. I fell through the cracks
had a really haunting quality to it. I like that because it seems that when we're talking about scarcity and abundance, that they are really deep qualities of soul that are working in us all the time. If there's not a person, I would imagine, that could relate to having issues around scarcity and abundance. You know, what we teach here at Unity and what we find in the Hebrew and Christian scriptures and in many scriptures all over the planet, Hindu as well, that I think of, is that abundance is the very nature of God. Abundance is the very nature of the universe. We are supposed to have abundance. We are supposed to dwell in and live in and enjoy great abundance. I find it really interesting that the Bible begins and ends with what I would call a liturgy of abundance. When you think about the creation story, God is creating this incredible planet with tremendous abundance. Such abundance that's beyond what we can almost imagine, because some of it's faded away in a sense and grown in other ways. But Holy Scripture says that we are supposed to be a people of blessing, that our whole purpose of our human lives is to receive God's blessing and then to endow it and give it to others. When asked if the God of the universe really cared about us little humans, Jesus said, "Consider the lilies of the field. They neither toil nor spin, and yet Solomon in all his glory is not arrayed as one of these." That's how you're supposed to be. Jesus followed an ethic of abundance and this kind of expansive grace and a non-anxious manner of living in his earthly ministry. And he asks us to have that same kind of attitude. If we choose to live some other way, in worry or anxiety, that's our choice. But he was clear right from the beginning, and really the whole Hebrew scriptures too are clear, that the creator of the universe wants to bless us humans and wants us to live in that confidence and then be a great and generous fountain of blessing for others. The theologian Walter Brueggemann, I don't know, does anybody know him? Only a theologian would probably know him in our midst, but when you go to seminary these days, he's one of the most popular theologians that people study. And it's interesting because right-wing Christians study him as well as liberal theologians study him. So he spanned the bridge here. And he says that in Genesis 1, it's like a song of praise for God's generosity. It tells how the world is organized. It keeps saying, it's good, it is good, it is very, very good. That's how the world is organized. It shows in Genesis 1 that God has endowed all of creation with vitality. The plants and the animals, the fish and the birds, and the humans are endowed with this life energy. Later in Genesis 7, God blesses a couple named Abraham and Sarah and their family with a great mission. God tells them, "I'm going to multiply you like the stars of the heavens, and your whole purpose is to be a blessing for all people on earth." Blessing is the force of well-being that's active in our world, and faith is the awareness that creation is the gift that keeps on giving. I'm going to say that again. Blessing is the force of well-being that is active in our world. And faith is the awareness that creation is the gift that keeps on giving. So when God came to Abraham and Sarah, it was the first time in the scriptures where the word El Shaddai as the name for God was spoken. It's the first time, because it was a moment in which the humans were realizing that they were up against an impossible situation. Because here God was giving Abraham and Sarah this promise that they would be the father and mother of this tremendous flow of humans coming out of them. But guess what? They were 90 years old and they hadn't had any kids yet. It was a big problem. Even though they lived longer in those days, still 90 was 90, you know. So God was coming to them as the El Shaddai, and that word means, it's got a lot of meanings that come out of the root words of it. But El is the word for the one universal power, El. And then Shaddai, it means the all-sufficient one, all-sufficient, the one that can do anything, the one that is sometimes translated as almighty, because it's meaning all-powerful. But it also means, it comes from the same word that the word for a woman's breast comes from. And so it's got this feminine connotation that God is our mother, and God is supplying us all with her breast milk. And then El Shaddai also means the mountaintop, that God is as strong as the mountain, whose strength we can depend upon. So El Shaddai. El Shaddai. We're going to sing the song El Shaddai. It was written back in the 80s, and then Amy Grant picked it up and started singing it. You know who Amy Grant is, a real popular singer that went from being just a Christian singer to like popular in the world, and it hit the top charts. This song did in 1983. It's a beautiful song about God's all-sufficiency.
You have the words there too, if you'd like to sing with me. El Shaddai, El Shaddai, El Elyon Adonai. Age to age, you're still the same. By the power of the name, El Shaddai, El Shaddai, El Adonai. We will praise and lift you high, El Shaddai.
Let's stand up and really get into the singing of it.
Through your love and through the rain, save the song of Abraham. Through the power of the rain, turn the sea into wine. From the helpless on the grave, learn the God who really sees. And by your might you set your children free. Through the years you made it clear that the time of Christ was near. Though the people couldn't see what Messiah ought to be, all your word contained the plan. They just could not understand. Your most awesome work was done through the beauty of the one. El Shaddai, El Shaddai, El Elyon Adonai. Age to age, you're still the same. By the power of your name, El Shaddai, El Shaddai, El Adonai. I will praise you till I die, El Shaddai. I will praise you till I die, El Shaddai.
So this awareness of God being abundant, it flows through the Hebrew Scriptures from that beginning chapter of Genesis 1 all the way to Genesis 47. That's the theme through all those chapters in many different ways, until we come to Genesis 47. And in that chapter enters the scarcity mindset. The great king of Egypt and of all the surrounding areas in that day, Pharaoh, became concerned over an impending famine. And so the Pharaoh got organized. But he got organized not around, it's good, it's all very good, And El Shaddai is all sufficient. And we seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all these things shall be added unto you. No, he didn't get organized around that. He got organized around the scarcity mindset. And so he organized to administer things, to control and monopolize the food supply. So Pharaoh introduced the principle of scarcity into the world economy. And for the first time anyway in the biblical story, there's not enough. And there's the attitude of, let's get everything for ourselves and control it. So Pharaoh hired Joseph, who happened to be an Israelite who was already under his captivity. And he put him in a position of authority because he knew that all of the Israelites would be coming and would be running out of food when the famine happened. So he put Joseph in charge so that when the crops failed and the peasants came in, that he was supposed to ask them, you can have food, but what's the collateral that you're bringing? What are you going to offer the Pharaoh? So they, piece by piece, gave up their land for food, gave up their sheep and their herds. And by the third year of the famine, they had no collateral left but themselves. And that's how the children of Israel came into slavery, through an economic transaction. You remember what happens next, the story of the Exodus, right? They got really tired and burned out and brutalized by the Pharaoh's way of organizing things under this myth of scarcity. So finally they got to the point where they were calling out to their God, and they were remembering their God, and the God that had blessed everything and said that they were there to be a blessing, and they were thinking, like, what's going on? What's going on? Sometimes we go through really hard things and we get really off track in our lives, and we get to the point where we start asking, what's going on? I know I've gotten to that point at many different junctures, and that's a very valuable point, because then God does start to speak. And God started to speak through Aaron and Moses, and spoke to Pharaoh and said, let my people go. And you know all that happened, all those plagues and everything that came, so that finally Pharaoh got to the point where he was willing to let the people go. And so they did, and they got out, and one of the first things that happened was that they came to a great, I call it a threshold guardian, the Red Sea. And they couldn't cross it, and so they thought, you know, maybe we're done for, because here we are, we've left everything that we had, and now we're up against the Red Sea, and what's going to happen? An impossible moment, impossible situation. So, you know what happened, right? Something miraculous. A miracle happened, and the Red Sea parted, and they crossed on the dry ground. And those that came after them to capture them again and chase them were caught in that as the seas closed in again. So God does something extraordinary when we're up against the wall. God's love begins to rain down upon those people that call out. It reminds me of the time when Jesus was ministering to all those people and there wasn't any food, 5,000 or more people on the hillside. And it was an impossible situation. They were far out from civilization, not enough food, and you know what happened there. Something miraculous happened, and suddenly there was enough. Enough. And not only enough, but guess what? There were leftovers. There were whole baskets of leftovers. So a curious thing happens all throughout the scriptures. You know, that people find themselves going the wrong ways and thinking the wrong thoughts, and God comes in. So, who is this God? Who is this God? Do you relate to this God of abundance in your life? Another thing that happened to the Israelites as they went along was that they were in the wilderness for a long time. And I think they were there because they were working out their shadow stuff, right? Because they were pretty tied into the mindset of scarcity. After all, they'd lived with it for 400 years. And they were really kind of still dedicated to growing that tree of scarcity and not nurturing the thoughts of abundance. So one of the things that God, this amazing God, did for them was when they ran out of food in the desert, brought manna out of the heavens. And the interesting thing about it is that they could only pick up enough for the day. And if they tried to save more for the next day, it would rot immediately. So they were being taught about some kind of very special lesson about God's provision of just enoughness. Well, eventually, after wandering around for 40 years in their shadow stuff, they got it. They really started integrating the gifts of their shadow, and after many delays and many lessons, they came to the edge of the promised land. And the land is described as one flowing with milk and honey. Is this bringing back memories to some of you for these stories, you know? There's a lot to learn from these ancient stories. Sometimes I think we too quickly eschew our Hebrew and Christian scripture heritage, you know, because there's a lot in here for us today. Because before they could enter the promised land, they first had to get one past a really major obstacle. And it's so interesting for me as I think about the journey to completion, because the threshold guardian at the beginning of it was the sea, the Red Sea that had to part so they could walk on dry land. Well, guess what the threshold guardian is on the other end of their whole shadow journey here? The Jordan River. The Jordan River is stormy and wide, chilly and cold. Remember that song about it? And normally, interestingly, it wouldn't have been a problem, because normally the Jordan River was only about 100 feet wide at Gilgal, where they had come to cross it. 100 feet, that's not a big challenge. However, it seems that Spirit has a way of orchestrating things so that nobody can boast, really, about having done something on their own. So at the other end here, they have to face the threshold guardian of this flood time of the Jordan River, when the Jordan River got a mile wide, and it was a rushing, mighty torrent. That's over 50 times wider than it normally would have been when Israel arrived right at that moment. So there's no way that they could cross the river on their own. It was an impossible barrier. They were reminded that they couldn't do it on their own. They needed supernatural help. Well, we each have Jordans that we have to face from time to time. When we look at the obstacles that stand between us and the spiritual victories in our lives to our own promised lands, we may feel that we'll never be able to get across this Red Sea, this Jordan. What kind of obstacles have you faced, and have you found a way across? What kind of obstacles are you facing now? Well, I don't know what kind of obstacles there are exactly in your life, but I just know from my own life that I've watched Spirit specialize in overcoming the overwhelming and in leading me through to amazing victories. You know, I want to tell you exactly what God did when they were faced with this impossible circumstance of the big, wide Jordan River. God told them a couple of specific things that He wanted them to do before the waters part. There were 2 million of them, you know. So that's a lot of people to organize. And yet, God told them these things through Aaron and through their prophets, and they did them. So they got organized by some guidance that came through. So there they were at the edge of the Jordan, and right before crossing, they had to take a big pause. You can imagine that they knew the promised land was on the other side. They were eager to get to it. It wasn't that far off. They knew that God was probably going to do some kind of big miracle for them. But what did God do first? God had them pause and said to them, before you're allowed to cross over the Jordan and enter this land of promise, I want you to go over to these twin mountains over here. Wow, could seem like a detour, you know. But the Mount Gerizim was verdant and green with trees and foliage, and the Mount Ebal was bleak and desolate. And both mountains are situated in that same area. They both get the same rainfall and the same sunshine. So it is with human beings too, isn't it? You know? Some of us are joyful and full of life and able to flow with whatever comes our way, and then others of us carry a dark cloud around our heads, and we moan and groan and nothing ever seems to go our way. So the Israelites got this one last chance to remember the mindset that they were going to have before going into the promised land, by nature giving them another lesson. It's so important to realize that God gave these lessons to the people often through nature. How often do you go out in nature to get your lessons? Often, I hope. But there were these two mountains that they were set before to contemplate, so that once they entered the land flowing with milk and honey, they would have really committed to the mindset of abundance. You get that? Now, I can only speak for myself here because I've known both these kinds of mountains, haven't you? Heck, I've camped out on the bleak one for years at a time. I invested prime real estate on that bleak one. And the only thing that grew was my level of despair and alienation. I haven't climbed that mountain in a good number of years now, though, I'm happy to say. My feet are firmly planted on the green foliage mountain, and I'm breathing in the sunshine and the rainbows that come all the time there. And I might add, since it is my promised land, it's flowing with delicious gluten-free bread and kombucha instead of milk and honey. So it's finally accepting. This promised land is about finally accepting and knowing and choosing and living our oneness with God, or higher power, or spirit, or however you wish to define this divine energy that is here on planet Earth from the beginning. It's our making the conscious choice to live our life trusting in this love, life energy. It's knowing that all the blessings that we can stand are ours. And one of the best parts is knowing that we do not have to do it alone. In fact, we cannot. That we are partnered every step of the way by God and by God through the blessing hands and hearts of others. What about the bleak, barren mountain? Well, it represents our separation from the divine. I think it represents our pride, our self-importance, our negative ego stuff that pulls us away from this love that really is all around us and that separates us from it in fear. How is it that humans get so caught up in our delusions and our erroneous belief systems that we're not good enough, not pretty enough, not bright enough, not lovable, not worthy? We are wounded people. And we can get caught up in these messages, but we don't truly want to believe. I think that humans don't truly want to believe that this is the truth. But at the same time, if we don't want to believe those negative things and see everything through the eyes of blame and not enough, we've got to come to terms with something that New Thought teachings have been saying to us for a long time. We create our own reality. Got to come to terms with that. I think that's what's coming about on planet Earth right now, is that we are really at the edge of this Jordan River. It looks pretty chilly and wide to get across, but the promised land is very, very close. But we are giving this one last pause to adjust ourselves, to adjust our thinking about abundance and scarcity, and to aligning our minds with the truth, the fact that this universe is all about abundance, that this creation on planet Earth is all about abundance and not scarcity. I guess I'll just end with a remembrance that I was having about my father this week. Another short story that he grew up during the Depression years, and many of your parents probably did. And sometimes it irritated me because he was always saving everything. He was always taking care of not wasting anything. And he tried to teach us to be frugal, but he didn't go in the direction of bitterness and resentment and scarcity. He still had this attitude of abundance, but he taught us about balance. He said, you can do anything that you want to do. Even, to us as girls or boys, he was saying, you can do anything you want to do, but you can't do everything. And then he would say, you can have anything you want to eat, but you can't have everything, and whatever you take, I want you to finish. So it was a great lesson in how to live in abundance, how to live in abundance. I've noticed that people that do live in abundance have certain qualities. They know how much money they have, and they take good care of it. They're organized. I've noticed that people that live in abundance know that they're not alone, that they are dependent upon other people and on other factors, and that they live in a great sense of interbeingness. So there's a way that we're being shown for eons, for centuries on planet Earth, that we can live in harmony with the nature of abundance that is the true nature of our planet. There's a liturgy of abundance that's been going on since the beginning of time, and since the Hebrew scriptures were written. And this story of scarcity has come into it, yes, but we're really here on a planet that celebrates a liturgy of abundance, and we each have our part now, just like the Israelites had their part to play. We are those people who are the ones that want to listen to God, who've got our part to play now in bringing through this liturgy of abundance, this celebration of the truth of what this planet's really all about. So it's exciting. There's a lot more to be said about it, and I think we'll be saying a lot more as the days come, but I'm very excited to be here with you all who are interested in this new kind of economics that's really a very old economics. It's one that we're remembering on planet Earth right now. So thank you for being with me in this.